Do you have an outlet like this? Maybe it's been painted over, broken, or that awesome almond color from the 1900s. Shockingly, they're really easy to replace. Replacing outlets is an easy upgrade to do your house, and they're pretty inexpensive, $1 to $2 at the most. Hi, I'm Mike Cross. This is the Cross Legacy Workshop. I'm showing you all the DIY projects I've done in my own house. Although I'm confident in changing outlet, I'm not a licensed electrician, so if you have any safety concerns or are uncertain, hire a professional. Outlets can be ugly and outdated, but for me, the reason I like to replace them is my phone charger always falls out of the wall. Today we're just talking about bedroom and living room outlets. Sometimes kitchen and bathroom outlets are a little more tricky, so we won't talk about those today. Bedroom and living room outlets are easy to replace. Let's walk through the steps today. Safety first. Most important part of this project is a voltage detector. These voltage detectors will blink and make a noise when there's a live circuit. So first, we'll just make sure there's power. Okay, we know there's live power. Now we got to go turn off the breaker. Here we are at the circuit breaker panel. Oh, look, here's another outlet I need to replace. All right, so when you open up your circuit breaker panel, hopefully it's labeled. Otherwise, you're just guessing. Locate the breaker for the room that you want to turn off. All right, so to actually turn it off, you just take the breaker and switch it the other direction, just like a light switch maybe. To confirm that it's a 15 amp circuit, the breaker will be labeled with 15, actually on the breaker. Most bedroom and living room outlets are going to be 15 amp. But while we're here, we'll just double check the circuit. It says 15, so we know we're good. When you go to your favorite hardware store, you just get a 15 amp, 120 volt outlet. Now we're back at the outlet and we'll test to see if the circuit's off. All right, circuit's confirmed off. Now we can tear into the outlet. Let's take off the faceplate first. I'm using this screwdriver today. It's kind of fancy, but any flathead screwdriver will work. All right, when you're looking for a 15 amp outlet at your local hardware store, there's a couple different types you can get. One is standard, and then there's upgrades from there. Here's a tamper resistant outlet. It's a little bit more expensive, but it's got a safety feature, and kids are less likely to shock themselves. You know this is a tamper-resistant outlet because it says TR stamped into the plastic. The outlet I'm using today is a tamper-resistant outlet. It's marked with a TR. And some of them have special features on them that can help you in the installation process. One is the end here is a wire stripper, and then also there's a gauge on the back to tell you about 3/4 of an inch is how much you need to take off the plastic coating or insulation on the wire. So with a standard screwdriver, we're just going to take off the faceplate. Now we're going to take off the top and bottom screws. All right, if you want to double check to make sure you know that the black is hot and the white is neutral, what I've done is I went back, after I pulled this out, I went back, flipped the breaker back on. So right now this is a live circuit. I'm going to check to make sure that the white is neutral and the black is hot. See? The black is hot like you would expect. If you check the white wire with this and it goes off, you may have something unique going on and you might want to get it checked out by an electrician. Now I'm going to go turn the power back off. Right, so when we're thinking about putting the new outlet in, we're going to put the white wires or neutral wires to the silver screw heads, and we're going to put the hot wire or the black wire onto the brass screw heads. And we're talking about the actual screws themselves, not the plate underneath. Both plates are brass, but the screws are silver and brass. And ground is green, and that is the bare copper wire. So in this instance, it looks pretty good. I'm just gonna unscrew these terminals and the terminals on this side and remove the wires. Sometimes when you pull this off, you never know what you're gonna get. Sometimes you're gonna have to have wire cutters and cut the wires right at the back of the outlet because they're just stabbed in. When I say the wires are stabbed into the back sometimes, I just mean that there's a spot on the back of the outlet the wire fits into and it's like locked in place. I don't really like that type of connection, but a lot of outlets are installed that way, especially older ones. All right, let's just start taking the wires off. Yeah, these can come off in any order. Just make sure the power's off. Now I have some needle nose pliers and I'm just gonna straighten out or flatten out the wires. I still want a loop to connect to the terminal, but as you can see, taking that apart really bent the wires up a little bit. Sometimes you want to get a little more insulation off of the wire to have it connect to the terminal better. So you can just use some wire strippers. So if you find yourself in a situation where you've had to cut the wire and strip it back, just take some needle nose pliers and make the loop to connect to the terminal. All right, now we have our new outlet and we're gonna connect it back up. Just make sure that hot or black goes to the brass color and the white or the neutral goes to the silver. I'm just double checking to make sure all the terminals are connected. This is an easy way to replace an outlet that is acceptable by code. Now, this has 2 black, 2 white, and 1 ground. If you have more than that or something else going on, you're gonna have to come up with a different method called pigtailing, but that's for another time. If you do have more wires, this method isn't gonna work. You're gonna have to come up with the pigtail method because you never wanna have 2 wires connected to 1 terminal. All right, now everything's connected. I've double checked to make sure all the screw terminals are tight and the wires aren't loose. Now, if you try to fold these wires back into the junction box, and then just line it up close, and then you can screw the top and bottom screws into the junction box. A standard way to do it is just to keep the ground on the bottom as shown here. This is all screwed in. If you don't like how it's aligned, you can adjust this back and forth. The top of the connection is slotted, but once you're happy with how it's looking, put the faceplate on. All right, this is everything. Now go turn on the power and double check to make sure that you have power at the outlet. Power's back on, and we're gonna just double check to make sure everything's working properly. Just like we would expect. Now we have an outlet that the phone charger will fit into. All right, here's some final thoughts. With some basic tools and the cost of an outlet being under $2, you can replace these easily at home. But again, it's electricity. So if you're unsure, consult an electrician. As always, if you're unsure, consult an electrician. Be sure to like, follow, and subscribe, and stay tuned for whatever next project we have going on.